Whoa, I think it's me. Yep, it is. Yes. Oh, that is sort of lovely. But whatever. A little gooey shot there. Yep. Anyway, I was just thinking, as I was walking, falling, I also fell down already, which is fun. There's ice underneath this shit. This isn't a good idea. They shouldn't put ice under snow. There should be a law against it. Anyway, I was pondering this whole idea of philosophy and how people get where they are, the mindset, what kind of filtered notions we're likely to, little rabbit track. Rabbit tracks. I'm hunting a rabbit. Anyway, I'm a fudge video. That would be funny. But I just don't have it in me. Too gooey. Anyway, where was I? Yeah, subject. What the subject is, this whole, we're essentially still being controlled meme-wise by birthright, so to speak. Obviously, there's a huge amount of filtering. A huge bit of the filtering mechanism wants to turn everybody into a play-alonger, a go-alonger, be one of us, or part of the Borg, of pop culture, pop values, tradition, habit. These are the still kind of dominant players. And although our philosophy isn't a genetic component, the truth is that only people of certain philosophies do breed. So they have to be in a certain state of mind when they perpetrate the act. To perpetrate the act. So some of it, it happens very young. They're stupid and immature, and they make a wacky decision. And some people do it deliberately. Now, I guess the ones that are doing it deliberately later in life are the ones whose psychology might have some sort of component that tends them towards some sort of insane optimism, some sort of real sheepleness, real, fit-inness, real, get caught up in the traditional value notion. Because, even after some exposure to real life, they still decide to, lick the human race's popsicle. The Kool-Aid popsicle. Anyway. There is a certain limited, very limited, I would argue, but still it's there probably, of some sort of properties, filtered genetic properties, that tend to narrow capacities to do this not one of them thing. This aberrant fight against the system thing. The, don't be a go-alonger thing. This is really, really not very pleasant. Yeah. Well, I made it though. I didn't fall. It didn't fall yet. Nope. I made it. Anyway. Sorry about the anyway stuff, but it's one of those days. Anyway kind of day. I'm just sick of this shit. Fuck. And I guess obviously, there's just this tide, that you're fighting against, this tide of pop culture, and ideas still have to fight through that. So it's the heritage of momentum, the momentum of religious philosophy, the fact that religious philosophy tends to be breeding philosophy. The religious are optimistic because God done it. So they play along and do what the DNA commands. because they've mislabeled the DNA God or Jehovah. So yeah, but you're not born with a philosophy, quite obviously. And so the tide, there are these individuals capable of fighting against the tide because it isn't rigid. There's no obligation to be a cultural whore cunt. You can step beyond those notions and declare kind of intellectual independence and say, no, I'm not going to trust you. I wish to understand for myself. I wish to find the truth. And so the opportunity exists to gravitate, to move towards a new meme, a new idea. And but the downside is it'll never be a breeder's idea. It'll never compete in the build your own drone game dynamic. And that dynamic is still very powerful. People do tend to retain the cultural norms and biases and idiocies of their parents. They do tend to cling to those traditions, that kind of conditioning. They tend to be conditioned into being that thing, just like a Japanese person tends to be Japanese, not just in physical structure, but in cultural behavior. They tend to like certain foods, and they tend to... This doesn't look right. I don't know, it doesn't look right in the daylight, but I mean the unsnow light, but it really looks wrong in the snow. This is way too much crap in the way. But it is the correct path. Anyway, lots of opportunity for tripping and slipping. Yeah, my minor augmentation. I did cut that log off. I did do something. Did do some work. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, the Japanese turns into a Japanese person. And it's not a genetic thing. It's just a culture. The culture absorbs them, and they absorb the traditions. And a few of them, because of exposure, will end up dressing like Elvis, and culturally becoming something other than Japanese. But again, they have to go against the tide. They have to have reason to doubt the traditions, and or there has to be something out there that appeals to them in some way before they're owned. Or maybe it's, like I said, just exposure. They get exposed to a few American TV shows, and they connect in some sort of way, in some sort of positive way, and then they become just as controlled in a way as they would have been if they were traditional by that thing that caught them. So I guess in some ways we can trace any dissidence to the norm to some sort of events like that. I mean, I could say that, yeah, I had those events. I had reasons as a child, even though I lived a comfortable and rather a pretty good life compared to the average human, I had reason to doubt the integrity of the authorities giving me animal tracks, bullshit stories, bullshit explanations for what I was and what I was doing here, what my purpose was. And although I didn't have anything I could see as a role model in terms of a dissident, I had a lack of affiliation with what was feeding me. the food didn't seem right. I wasn't seeing the nourishing value in it, and it didn't have any, to my core kind of flavor, and it didn't make any sense. I couldn't resolve the dissonance that just existed in me because I didn't get completely caught up in it. I didn't get attached to it enough. So I remained just distant enough where I didn't get hooked. I didn't have enough of the heroin to need more, to feed off of it, to find it nourishing or comforting. And so I remained searching for something else to answer the questions, something else to resolve the conflict, to provide the comfort. And unfortunately, the resolution of the problem was the realization that there's no comfort to be had for those seeking the truth. The truth will not set you free. It will doom you to drudgery. It will reveal your role as janitor to a slop that should have never been created. Just mop up a mess that has no rational or reasonable origin or reason for perpetuation. It exists because there are too few dissidents to stop it. Period. No other good reason, just bad reasons. It exists because good reason is too scarce to stop the bad behavior. Yep. No other reason. Yep. It really is. Snow. I don't like it. Expecting a package. Let's see if we got here. No, nothing's there. So, anyway, till the next time, and such, so forth and whatnot. I gotta feed the cat. The outside cat. His name's Maui Face. Not much of a name, but yeah. So the outsider cats also have it rough. The Tide Fighters end up with a stupid name. Anyway, till next time.